All right, here we go with Jim Girard today. This is going to be an action-packed session. We're going to be talking about being a skills-based agent. You have to be not only to survive in this market, but to thrive. You have to understand what your value proposition is. And then we're going to jump into what these agents are doing that are blowing it out of the market right now and excelling beyond what the market is doing itself. So, Jim Girard, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Joe. I appreciate you inviting me to be in here.
Yeah, fantastic having you on the Real Joe Show. Jim, just so you know, has been in the markets in this business since 1999. He spent many years in the Air Force, which we thank you very much for. And so you've been in property management, you've owned your own brokerage, you've been an investor, and you're doing a whole bunch of coaching and mentoring. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So let's talk about being a skills-based agent. Okay, what does that mean? I know, what does that mean?
Well, Joe, anybody can jump into real estate. In my state, it takes less hours to be a real estate agent than it does to be a cosmetologist. So the person that cuts your hair gets more training than a real estate agent does that handles $500,000 investments for people. So what we need to learn right from the very beginning is what we learn in school and what we learn when we sit in our brokerage in the very beginning does not really teach us the skills. That's something we have to learn on our own sometimes and go out and shadow people and figure that out. But the skill is the business, and you have to learn all the little tricks and all the little nuances to be successful in this business.
So how does that work when you're coming out of school? Now they teach you the laws and what not to do.
Yeah, they teach you how to not get sued. So, we're fortunate today, as opposed to when I started real estate, the internet wasn't here yet, like we have it today. So today, a very ambitious agent can really get in and niche down on whatever particular part of real estate they want to do. So most of the time we think of real estate as working with a buyer and working with a seller, but it's so much more than that. I teach agents, it's like driving your car. If you sit in your car and you just use the brake and the accelerator, although the ride might be nice, it's not very enjoyable until you turn the radio on, until you turn the air conditioner on, until you adjust your speakers. All of these other things, it's just like real estate. It's just a bunch of buttons, and you find where you're most comfortable at, and you play the game that way. So when we talk skill-based, you have to decide, do you want to focus on buyers, focus on sellers, focus on investors, focus on luxury properties, and then niche down and learn that part of the business very, very, very well. That's where your skill level comes in, and then move over to something else instead of grabbing anything you possibly can. That's the worst thing you can do. And that's how a lot of agents start.
With that explanation, I just had a quick aha. When an agent is brand new in this business, the consumer doesn't know what kind of training they've had or what kind of mentoring and the skills they actually have until they're doing it. So it takes time typically for a brand new agent to get that skill level where they have the confidence and they can truly protect their consumer, their client.
That's correct.
When I'm talking to new agents who are coming into this business, wherever they are, it's always about make sure that the company you're with has the training and the coaching, not just in the beginning, which you need heavily. It has to go all the way through, though. It has to be levels that step you up everywhere you go to whatever level you want to get. And what would be interesting is if the consumer actually understood that, where you walk into a doctor's office, if they have Harvard on the wall, they know what that means. Or at least they went to a good school. It doesn't mean the doctor knows what he's doing, but at least they went to a good school. So the consumer has no idea of what's going on in your brokerage. So it really matters that the agent has to be able to translate that knowledge, translate the value that they have into the consumer's language.
Well,
which is
and
better.
I agree. You know, we have some really very, very good brokerages out there, and some of them have excellent training programs.
Mhm.
And for the most part, they can take any real estate agent from the beginning up to a certain point. And then the agent has to decide, you know, you could stay in the same brokerage and get training somewhere else. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
But through our career, we should always attach ourselves to a different line of mentors that will take us to different levels. You know, I might be real good at one level helping somebody. You might be good at a different level or a different focus in real estate. So getting that skill level for whichever direction you want to go sometimes requires not bouncing brokerages, but bouncing your coaching programs and your mentor programs. And that's very, very important. And the way we portray that to our consumer, uh, you know, not we all, I don't wear it anymore, but the name tags where it's got all these insignias all the way across it. And that's confusing to the consumer. It's like, all right, so you took 4 hours of ABR. Congratulations. You know, what does that mean?
Right.
Right. So the way you translate that to the consumer is by how confident you are in what you're doing.
That's right.
And we miss that ball tremendously. We think we got a real estate license. We can go out. I can go to a listing appointment. This is great. I can fill out the blanks on the forms, nothing to that. But are you really doing a good job for your client? And the way you improve on that is the exact same way a baseball player does, a football player does, a hockey player does. They practice, practice, practice. They role play, role play, role play. With us, it's face to face. Hey, I want to talk to a buyer. This is what I'm going to say. What do you think? That's role play. To a football player, he's going to have that quarterback throw him the ball, that same play over and over and over and over again until he gets it just right. And we miss that. We think we can just run out there with no skill development at all and start working with people, hey, making $500,000 investments in their life. And that's very, very scary.
That's right. That's right.
Very scary, actually.
It is. It is. And that's, so let's get into that piece of it. So the value proposition from an agent and their services can vary from agent to agent, but they're two
Absolutely.
very distinct pieces of it that each one of them has. They have a functionary, they're either functionary or and they should be fiduciary. They have to be both. I think what happens in those unskilled agents, they concentrate on the functionary being a functionary.
It's the easy out.
Right. So can you explain to the agents how they should be differentiating between the two?
Well, on the functionary side of things, I think we have to master our contracts. We have to be able to go through them just like second nature. When I ran my own brokerage, I used to tell my agents all the time, if you can't turn the contract over and read it upside down to explain it, you don't know the contract. You shouldn't have to sit there and read it to your client and say, oh, that's what this means. That's what this means. You should be able to turn it around, let them read it as you're telling them what's going on. And then you fill out the blanks as you go through it. But doing that part of the simple functions, we can all go on the MLS, we can all push print, we can all drive around, we can do those things and fill in the blanks of a form. But on the fiduciary side of things, that's when you look out for your client's best interest. That's where you are at the point in your career or working with a client where you want to make sure they're getting the best deal and at the same time be guiding them in the right direction. Your job as a fiduciary is to keep them out of the ditch. I like to say, keep them out of trouble. You know, if it's so easy to get in trouble. You go to a listing appointment and somebody's filling out the form and says, well, it kind of leaks, it kind of don't. Well, it leaks. You know, your job is to say it leaks until you fix it, you know, and you have to do that correctly. On the buyer side, we're always dealing with negotiating, and seller side too. We're negotiating back and forth, and how we are skilled enough on that side of whichever side of the deal we're on. However, we're skilled enough on that side of the deal is how we're taking care of our client in the best way possible. And, you know, we can talk how to negotiate 100 different ways, but, you know, our job is to be skilled at all of those points in the business. And we miss that, you know, with agents. We miss educating them on that, I should say.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's not like somebody's going out and buying or selling a car where it's and it's still a lot of money. This is far bigger than that. The nuances, the trapdoors, all the different things that can pop up and really financially hurt the client is
Absolutely.
it's around, it's everywhere. It's around every corner. So it's really imperative that the agent understands that fiduciary role and that the client should be expecting that. And they probably don't even understand. In many cases, they don't even understand how big a responsibility that is because they don't do it often enough. It's not something that they might buy one or two houses in their lifetime. And so they don't know what it really entails. And it's upon in that those first consultations when an agent is sitting down, making sure that they're explaining that whole process, explaining the fiduciary role and how big of a deal it is, and that the client really doesn't know what they're doing, and they should just allow the agent to do what they know to do well.
Well, and that goes back to what I said a little while before. If you're confident in what you're doing, it's easy to explain what our role is as a fiduciary for a client. Agents are very uncomfortable with exactly what they do, and that's why this NAR thing is such a struggle. Your experienced agents are saying, this is no big deal. I mean, this is the way it's always been. We're just wording things differently. The inexperienced agents will say, you mean I have to tell the buyer they have to pay me? Well, you should have been saying that all along. In my state, the law changed in 1998 that we had to tell people and sign a form for that. This is not new stuff.
Right.
But since we don't teach that correctly and we're so uncomfortable with it, it becomes this big ordeal. And that's where we start missing things. Learn the job, improve your skill level, and be the fiduciary that you're hired to do. And, you're right on point. The client doesn't really know what our role is.
Right.
And because of that, it's real challenging for them to say, let me see, you're going to help me out and make $10,000 for 3 hours work. And the real estate agent's like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Oh, no. What are you doing to justify that? How are you protecting me? How is that worth my while? And it's getting comfortable with who you are in your job. It's very, very important.
Okay, so that's when they're in the door, right? They're already in front of the client. What's happening? You coach quite a few people. You have your own program called the Real Estate Strategy Desk.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that? And then I want to jump into hearing about what is working for some of your top clients.
Jump into walking in the door or jump into Real Estate Strategy Desk?
What's that?
So you said jump into it, and you mentioned Real Estate Strategy Desk.
Jump into it. I want to hear what's going on at the Real Estate Strategy Desk, what that's all about, and then hear how agents in your program are getting in the door. And
so Real Estate Strategy Desk is a lot of what we're talking about right here, Joe. There's pain points throughout the entire industry, and real estate agents just don't know what direction to go to it. So they call up experienced agents, and most of them aren't open to help in details that need to be done. Not everybody's a good mentor. So people have always called me, and your situation's probably the same. They've always called you. So instead of this one-on-one stuff all the time, I put together the Real Estate Strategy Desk. I used to do it live, or I should say in person. We'd meet once a week at a coffee shop, and 10, 12, 15 people would sit there, and we would do what's your pain points, what are you working on, and do it in that environment. So my thoughts were I can extend that past my hometown, and do it in an online environment. And I started a membership called Real Estate Strategy Desk. So it's a membership program. It costs $50 a month, but inside there, you're going to be dealing with experienced agents. We have coaches that come in and talk. We have finance people that come in and talk. Sometimes it's me teaching a class. Sometimes it's just mastermind conversation. It's amazing how even an agent that's been doing this 5, 6, 7 years says, I've had this client with this situation. What should I do? And bringing that pain point to experienced agents is very helpful for answers. But on the other side, it's also raising the bar for these agents that need to hear this and see how to walk through that. So so that's why I put that together. And it's a small group right now, which is fine. But I've got some Canada people, I've got some North Carolina people, I got a Texas person in there, and we're just all growing together. And it's fun. It really is fun.
So there's the solution for an agent that doesn't have all that in their brokerage. You have that opportunity. And there are others. Jim, you've been around long enough, and I'm sure it's a great group.
Yeah, it really is a good group of people. Real estate agents, they spend their couple $1,000s to go through school, join the MLS, join the board. It's a good little investment from the beginning. And then they spend years trying to figure out how to get leads and how to build the business, and they struggle, and they won't spend any money to develop themselves, but they'll go to Op City and give up 30% of their commission and give them people $3,000 for doing nothing. When in reality, what you should do is figure out how to keep that money and spend your money to learn and get educated. And going into a program like Real Estate Strategy Desk, which you can opt in and out anytime you want, that little bit of training for $50 can get you 2 or 3 more deals a year or a month for some people. And that's where you need to be thinking, how can I put this money in the right place and not just give it away because somebody gave me a lead?
Right. Good point.
Yeah.
So what's working for some of the top agents in your group?
Oh gosh, the top agents don't struggle a whole lot. They just carry on about their business. But I think what works is being out there in front of people and knowing people. So I pitch lots of times that networking is probably one of the best things you can do. And we talk, social media is a big thing. And should I pay for marketing? Should I do mailing? Should I? And agents worry about that all the time. And the reason why they do that, when I sit and talk with people, I say, well, what's the biggest struggle you have? And so many agents will say, my sphere of influence is just too small. I just moved here. I don't have an SOI, and I'm like, well, what has that got to do with it? Your mom, dad, brother, sister, and your cousins all live in a house. They're not going to buy a house from you. And that's what real estate agents think their sphere is. But if you do social media correctly and you do local networking correctly, getting your name out there and letting people know what you do, and you're sharp at it, you're going to present yourself as a sharp real estate agent, then you get business. And that's how the top people make it. They are out there and people know who they are and they know they perform well and they call them. That's just the bottom line. I had somebody in one of the social media groups the other day said, what's the best script I could use calling past clients and asking them for a referral? And I said, the first thing you do is don't ask for a referral. You call them and say, hey, I was thinking about you. Where you at? How big's the kids? What's going on? And don't ask for a referral. Be a good person. Be somebody that's likable. Let them trust you. And if they have somebody send you, they'll do that. Yeah. So when you say, what are the big people doing, the experienced people, they're connecting and stay connected with their people.
Yeah. And I've had some people that has to be part of the conversation. Or the pattern is to always be some just care about your people. They're never past clients either, right? They're always a client.
Right.
One client, always a client.
Right.
So going in and just checking in on them and seeing, it doesn't matter. It's so much fun when somebody reaches back to a client, when an agent reaches back to a client they hadn't talked to in a couple of years or 4 years, and they just say hello.
Exactly.
It's heartwarming for them because it's just, these agents help these people realize where they're living, their dream home or their financial soundness, and they're well respected. And I think agents forget that, how important they were in their world. So
it's really important. We touch people in a very vulnerable part of their lives. They're building their family, they're scaling back from their family, they just had a child, they had a divorce, they just got married. All of these things are very vulnerable parts of people's life that we've become a part of now. So we can do one or two things. We can help them get into a good situation, a nice home, and give them a closing gift and go on, or we can find a way to stay in touch with them and develop friendships. I'm not talking about have dinner once a week. I'm just talking about develop a friendship and stay in touch with these people. You know, we as experienced agents and coaches and mentors should be teaching people right from the very beginning. You take care of a client through life. You just do. When I came into real estate, I just made a decision. I'll be a realtor for life now. This is the career choice. I've been doing it for 26 years. I'll be a realtor for life. That's what I'll do until I decide I don't want to anymore. So with that mindset, I know I need that client 5 years from now, and 5 years from now, they're going to buy a house. And if they don't, their high school kid will.
That's
and
right.
if they don't, their grandparents will scale back, you know. But 5 years from now, I need that client. You don't call them up 5 years from now and say, how you doing?
That's right.
You know, you've got to build on that all the way through. It's important.
Yeah. What else is working? I mean, that's 100%. That's the best business you're going to get, right? They already know, like, and trust you. If they're referring somebody to you, that person already has a level of trust because it came from somebody that they know, like, and trust. So that is absolutely the best business.
Mm-hmm.
What else is working for agents that are out there?
What else is working?
Yeah.
So you know, a lot of agents are still doing to get the free leads kind of thing. I think hurts. I think agents that stand up. I'm going to go back to networking again, Joe, because I really think it just is. When I started building the business, I thought it was great to get around other people. So that's what I did. At this point in my career, I try to get other people around other people. So when people say, I can't find people, I can't get leads, I can't get around the right people, how do you do that? And when I say to them, network, go to events. And some people in some places, believe it or not, there aren't any networking things going on. It's just not. Fortunately, by me, there's a ton, just amazing amount of networking things. But I said, just go out and create something. Just go out and create something. So what I did last month, which was great, I said, I'll just do a networking event. And the topic will be the value of networking. So I brought 45 people together to a networking event. I had a local business guy that runs a moving company that a lot of people know was a keynote speaker. And then I had a panel across the front of the room on people that network. And this is how you build your business. And what was great about that, Joe, each person on that panel I met through either LinkedIn or somebody I met on LinkedIn that connected me with them.
Wow.
And that's the point I wanted to get across. I didn't know this person up here on this panel, but I met somebody on LinkedIn. They were local. We sat and had coffee. They said, you need to meet this guy. And that hooked me up with that guy, and we sat and talked. So those things got me a couple of deals, but they also got me a bunch of connections.
That's great.
We think when we go to those things, one of those people are a client. One of those people are not your client. One of those people has a handful of clients for you. Your job is to figure out which one.
Right.
Say, you're not my client, Joe, but you might know somebody in Greenville, South Carolina that's going to buy a house. You'll say, you need to get up with Jim Girard.
That's right.
Yeah, you're not going to buy a house from me, right? Of course you might.
The thing that I've seen it with agents sometimes when they'll go to an event, this happened too many times at a chamber event I would go to. I'd be there on my own, and I would go and I would intentionally meet people, conversations one-on-one. And I look over at the other agents, they're all hanging out in the corner together.
Well, they're all agents hanging out with agents.
You're hanging out with agents, and they think they're out networking. Now, it's great that they get to know each other, because I strongly believe that agents should be hanging out and networking with each other in a major way, which is betters the marketplace. Yet they're at an event with all these business people, local. They should be getting out and meeting them one-on-one and starting conversations. And then if they hit it off with someone, you take it offline, you grab a coffee with them, you get to know them, you stop by their business, and then you start to build. So when you're out networking, like you're suggesting, the agents must be intentional about what they're trying to accomplish.
And that's a key word. You need to be intentional about it. When you go to something, and chamber events are really good because they're a string of business people. It's not a room full of real estate agents. It's not a real estate training, so it's a string of business people. Your position going there in the back of your head should be, I'm going to get five lunch appointments out of this. Get 5 lunch appointments or coffee or whatever. So your goal isn't to get that appointment set up with each one of those people. Your goal is to talk to some people and say, I like that person. I like that person. And then when you leave, you contact that person back and say, we really enjoyed our conversation. We need to extend that. Easy conversation to have. We just need to extend what we were talking about. We were really into it at the time. Let's grab a cup of coffee. What are you doing Tuesday afternoon? And break it down like that instead of thinking, are they going to buy a house? Are they ready to buy a house? I need to meet this guy. He buys big houses. That's not going to happen. Right. Real estate, people buy houses when they're ready to buy houses, not when you're ready to sell them one.
That's right.
So you have to be available when they're ready to buy a house, and find people like I teach in networking things. Find the connectors. Connectors are people that connect you to other people. Okay. 2 parts of that. One, you should be the connector. When someone says, a good inspector, you should be able to get on your phone and say, hey, try this guy here. You know anybody that can do an appraisal without a loan? You should know somebody. Yeah, I want to connect you with this guy here. You be the connector. Your job is to find somebody inside that event that's a connector and connects you with the next person that will be your client, or they will connect you with the next person to be your client. But the goal is to know them, get them to trust you, right? And like you. And once you're in that point, it just takes off. It's just amazing. But you have to go with that intentional thinking.
Absolutely.
I'm going to get 5 appointments out of this deal.
And leave your business cards at home.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely right. It's not a shuffleboard out there. You deal them all out. It's not like that.
No.
But you'd be surprised. We're sitting here talking about events like the chamber and the events that I did, but networking. You walk to a grocery store and network.
That's
All
right.
you have to do is say hello to somebody. I mean, it's not that hard to do. Or let somebody in front of you that has one thing and you have a grocery cart stuff.
I have an agent in the office here. She's working with a buyer she met at Target because she had her shirt on. And had
there you go. There you go.
Wasn't a name tag, but it was subtle enough and clear enough that she was a real estate agent, and it works.
It creates a conversation piece, sometimes. Yeah.
Hey, Jim, this was great. Sage advice.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it much. So up on your end, what do you see that's working really great for people?
I just interviewed a woman last week, one of the agents here. She's got a team and she's crushing it with farming.
Great.
And, she's been doing it for a while, and it was an investment in the beginning. She's very honest about that. It cost her quite a bit, and she bit off a massive chunk of business right up front. I think she started out with 4,000 homes.
Nice.
And it took her 18 months before it started to pay back, and now she's got a $100 million business going.
Nice.
So it takes time. People still live in their homes. They still get mail, and she does.
They like mail.
They do. More so than we used to. It used to just be bills. Now we get automatic deductions. We don't even see the bills anymore.
That's right.
So the mail that comes in is looked at, and she does a nice high quality newsletter once a month, and that's it.
Yeah,
and she does events. She does some network. She does events around town, and she does 6 events a year, and that's her whole marketing ploy, and that's it.
See, that's when you find that's her niche. See, that's what's working for her, and she mastered it. When we talk about real estate agents and the skill levels, part of the problem is when you sit here and you have the conversation with somebody. So, have you ever tried farming? Just pick out a nice neighborhood, 500-600 houses, and just mail them, get to them. And they're like, well, I tried that. Well, how many times did you try it? Well, I did 2 mail outs. That ain't gonna cut it. That ain't gonna cut it. When I had my own brokerage, when I started in real estate, I built my business through mail. Everything I did was through mail, and we were mailing right at 1,000 pieces a month. And trust me, I didn't have a lot of money. That was
Yeah.
pretty big thing. Plus, I had an assistant that did it, and I had her sign my name, so it was real ink, and I had her hand address each envelope so it would get opened without a return address. There's a lot of tricks to mailing, but the persistence part of that is what worked. And I can tell you that several times I would go to a listing appointment and they'll have like 3 of my postcards magnetic onto the refrigerator or 2 of my letters on the refrigerator. And they will tell me the reason why we chose you because you're very persistent. And we thought you would deal with our listing the same way.
Yeah. No, that's perfect.
But you have to get out there and do it and master something because something works. Just master something.
So I had another interview, it's just similar to what you're talking about as far as networking goes. Actually, I'll back up for a second. Karen Coe is the woman that she talks in detail about what she does in an interview I did on this channel. The other one is Trad Bastion. He created, I think about $400,000 in gross commission through his baseball league.
Nice.
Just by being there, he started sponsoring T-shirts, and he started buying beers, pizza once in a while, and he just became known as the real estate guy. Just because he's there. He wasn't asking for business. They just knew who he was, and it started to grow. He's got a great story. Really solid business concept. So he's good.
But see, those are the things that work. We don't have to pay somebody to do a whole lot of stuff for us. We just have to do the job. That's just the bottom line. When I talk with agents, but when I talk with agents and I'm like, well, how much business do you have? Well, I have 2 closings. I have 3 closings. I said, well, that's just great. What are you doing the rest of the time?
Right.
They have no idea what they're doing the rest of the time. Well, that's where you're marketing. So you keep having 3 closings a month. You don't wait till they're done and then say, well, I don't have any business. You do the job. I'm here to do the job. And if I hired you, I'd expect you to work all day long till 5 o'clock.
That's right. And the job of an agent is not sitting behind a computer or doing paperwork.
Right.
Hire transaction coordinators, please.
People that they say, when should I do that? I said, when you're so super busy, you can't talk to clients. That's when you hire somebody. Because the rest of the time it's just a job. You can get on a computer and put your contract in a computer for your broker. I mean, you can do all that stuff. That's not a big deal. But when you get to the point you have so many closings, you don't have time for that. Yeah, then hire somebody to do it. But other than that, it's a day's work.
Yeah, I'll argue that if you're out talking to people more, you're going to get to that pain point faster. So
absolutely,
I encourage agents to start using transaction coordinators as soon as they get started. They have to know the process. They have to know what it's about. Do their first 2 or 3, and then get out there and be in front of people.
When I started real estate, I went to a seminar, and this guy said, either you have an assistant or you are an assistant.
That's right.
So I had an assistant in the very beginning, but at the same time, her job wasn't to take everything off of me. My job was to learn certain functions of the job, pass it on to her so I can still do the other things that brought the paperwork to her. Yeah. So my point that I was making is if you're not busy, then you need to be doing the functions of the job. If you're going to be using your time to build more business, then you get yourself the TC to do it. Otherwise, it's like, hey, I had a closing, gave it to my TC. I don't have anything to do all day. Well, come on. We're better than that. Go to work.
Do your job.
Do your job. Love it. All
right, Jim. Thanks so much for coming on the show. It was great stuff. How do you want people to reach out to you? I'll put them in the comments.
Well, they could just email Jim at jimgirard.com is fine. And I really wish they'd go in there and take a look at the Real Estate Strategy Desk. It's simply realestatestrategydesk.com. It's a 30-day free trial, which is enough time to get into 2 or 3 different sessions and participate in the stuff that shows up on the Facebook group and, get connected. When you think about business, you think about you have to be connected to something to help you grow. It's like the light on the ceiling. It don't work till somebody connects it and then turns it on. And that's how you have to think about your business. What's turning me on? What's making me go? Light me up.
Light me up. All right. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Joe. You have a great day.
You
Appreciate the
too.
invite.
You bet.